This What's Working with Cam Marston podcast is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
Why do birds suddenly appear every time you are near? Just like me, they long to be close to you.
Do you hear that? That is not the opening music for What's Working with Cam Marston. That is something completely different, and for people out there of a certain age, you'll recognize this song as Close to You. But it's not Karen Carpenter. It's a cover of Karen Carpenter's song, and that's kinda what we're going to talk about on today's show. Welcome, everyone, to What's Working. This is the show that focuses on the trends influencing the workforce, the workplace, and the marketplace around us. And the reason that song is relevant to us today is that it's a cover being sung by Carla Williams. She's our guest on the show. Before I get her on the air, let's jump into the Wayback Machine for those of you who can remember this. There was a woman out there named Leanne Rimes, and she's probably still out there. She's probably making a ton. She's probably busy, but I know nothing about country music. Anyway, Leanne Rimes sounded a lot like Patsy Cline. And when we first met Leanne Rimes as a young lady, maybe a young girl, I think I remember, people were saying, oh, we got us a Patsy Cline back. It's so nice to have a Patsy Cline and that beautiful voice. Well, Leanne came out and sounded a lot like Patsy Cline. And then people came to her and said, we want you to do our music. And Leanne Rimes became her own singer, not a Patsy Cline knockoff. The point, there's kind of a track. There's a path, I guess, of people entering into a larger stage by covering other people who are adored and revered. And that's exactly what Carla Williams is doing. She's been in the country music business before. She stepped out to become the COO of a very impressive and reputable organization, frankly. And now in her 40s, and she told me I could say that, she's stepping back in. And the song you're listening to, Close to You, is her cover that comes off a CD that she gave me that is a tribute to the Carpenters. And it's remarkable, the talent that she's gotten to support this effort of hers because of a couple of things. Number one, she's really good. You can hear that. She's really good. Number two, she's going after her dream. Now, why is that significant to the show? This show tends to attract people, males more often than not, 45 years old and older. Doesn't mean you may not fit that profile, who tend to be in positions of influence and leadership in their workplace. You know, they have a voice in their workplace. And it is that chapter in life where people like that, 45, influence in their workplace, often say, is this all there is for the rest of my career? What am I going to do for the next 15, 20 years? I got one more good effort of time, or a bit of time to put in an effort to make something really happen that I've always wanted to do. And you see a lot of job turnover in the late 40s and early 50s as people settle in for what their final chapter in the workplace is going to be like. Carla has done the same. She had to give up her country music career for a period of time to raise a family. She became the COO of an impressive organization. But because of her dream, and let's not forget her talent, she has entered back into it. And the support she's gotten from people around there who recognize what she's going through has been phenomenal. And I'm going to ask her about these people. These are reputable people in the music business. Heck, she's recorded at, Abbey Road Studios in London. You don't just walk in there off the street, I don't think. So what our show is going to be about today is the country music business and the music business in general, as well as the path to recognition for someone who's got talent and is sticking their toe back in the water, think Leanne Rimes, and someone who's got the moxie to say, I'm not giving up in this dream. It's a long shot. The record of people who make it is not very long, or is not a long list, but I'm going to do it anyway. And you just got to love it because people come out of the woodwork to support others that have done that. Now, one of the questions that I'm going to ask Carla is, and this sounds greedy, I don't like the way this sounds, is about the money part. I mean, I was reading in Garden and Gun the other day about this guy, I think it was Chris Stapleton, maybe. Again, I don't know much about these people, country music. I'm a funk music guy, New Orleans funk music. But reading about this guy who's got like a 250-acre piece of property 25 miles outside of Nashville or something like that. Think about it. That must have cost a ton. Where does the money come from is my question. Where does the money come from for a singer like that? Because I can buy his songs for 99 cents. Maybe if I splurge or if he marks it up, it's $1.50. I don't know. And I want to know about that. And speaking of money, now would be a good time to remind you or introduce you to my friends, Jamie Sandifer and Mark Sawyers. They're with Sandifer Wealth Management. They do a great job with asset management and financial planning. Listen, if you've got a retirement coming up, and that's kind of who this listening group is, if you've got a retirement coming up and you've got a nice 401k balance that you've done a good job stewarding your money away, Jamie and Mark would be people to talk to about how to manage that upon retirement. Any sort of estate planning questions you have, as well as college planning. Goodness knows that's what my wife and I are going through right now. Our oldest will be a freshman in the fall, and we are grateful for the college planning advice we got back in the day so that we're ready for this. Also, if you're a business owner and you're thinking, hey, we've had some good years, maybe I should offer a 401k, or maybe I should have my 401k for my employees reviewed by some expert. Call Jamie. Call Mark. They're the ones you need to know. You can find them at Sandifer Wealth, SANDIFER wealth.com or 340-1984. Back from break with Carla Williams, and we're going to go into the break listening to We've Only Just Begun. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston.
We've only just begun to live. White lace and promises.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Now offering the purchase of the Stella Artois Chalice, a beautiful stemmed glass with the Stella logo. The purchase of each Stella Artois Chalice provides 5 years of clean water for someone in one of 13 developing countries around the world. Learn more at stellaartois.com. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
I'm Eric Cromwell. The law firm of Cromwell & Associates can help guide your decisions regarding the life you've created with estate planning tools like wills and trusts. We've planned meetings with first-generation business owners and large multi-generational family groups. With locations in Mobile and Fairhope, we can assist you and your family through every stage of life. To learn more, call 251-605-9075 or find Cromwell & Associates on Facebook.
When you make the right decision, it feels good, like picking the perfect accent rug or choosing a good night's sleep over an all-night crime show binge. It feels really good to make the right insurance decision, too. I'm State Farm agent Allison Horner, and that's why I'm right here in Mobile to help you select the right protection at the right price. I'll make sure you understand your State Farm coverages so you'll know what to expect if the unexpected happens. With me as your State Farm agent, it's easy to make the right choice. You can come by, call, or click AllisonHorner.com. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm on the top of the world looking down on creation, and the only explanation I can find is
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio today with Carla Williams, and this is Rare air for a guy like me. Our show focuses mostly on the business world out there. There's no doubt that music and artistry is a part of the business world, but it's very seldom that I get to speak to these people, and I'm very excited. Carla, thank you so much for coming down to the studio. Welcome to What's Working.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're a rare creature, and we're going to talk about that as we go through this conversation. But before we get into the music business and the trends shaping the business and what you see going on, I want to hear about you. Tell me your story. I'm aware of some of this. I think the listeners need to hear this, though.
Of course. Born and raised in Mobile, Alabama. My hometown is very special to me. When I was 3 years old, I stepped on stage in church for the first time and sang my first solo, and I knew even at such an early age I was hooked. And I sang all through school, all through high school, all through college. I went to college on a vocal scholarship. I started a family, had children, and then at 30 years old, I realized that I wanted to pursue a dream that I had always had. And it really wasn't a matter of me becoming famous or making millions of dollars. It was more of I wanted to record an album, and that was on the bucket list of mine. And so I reached out to a couple of friends, and I'm not really, having been back and forth in Nashville for many years, I really didn't have that connection up there that I needed. Someone asked me if I had ever heard of Milton Brown from right here in Mobile. And I reached out to him. He told me to stop by his office, and we had the most amazing conversation. The guy had never heard me sing. I just feel like he saw a dream and a passion in me that he knew that it was real. And so just a few weeks later, this is the craziest story ever, we were in Nashville, Tennessee, recording my first album.
Wow.
And that's when all the dreams started coming true. I was able to record my very first album.
Yeah, there's not much of a pay your dues story here when you're starting at that level.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it was one of those things I literally just woke up and it just happened for me, which is unheard of.
That's
especially
living right.
At 30 years old. Everybody looks for those 18-year-olds that are ready to be molded and made into what they want them to be as an artist. And I had done so much already and just really had developed who I was, I thought, as an artist at 30 years old. And as that project went forward, I was signed with Lofton Creek Records in Nashville. And then fast forward in 2010, I was honored enough to win the New Music Awards in Los Angeles for Female Vocalist of the Year, which is it was almost surreal for me.
Were you there at that event?
I was not. It was actually an event that this particular section of it was closed off to the public. So it was a lot of times you see award shows and they have people kind of show and wave as they like record radio stations that win the year, kind of like a lot of the background things. This was not some major show, I would say, like the CMAs or the ACMs or things like that. But it was, at 30 years old, winning something like this was a big deal because it was it was a countrywide vote. And so people heard my music, they voted for me, they believed in me, and it was just an unbelievable experience.
What year was that?
2010.
Okay.
So if you backtrack just a little bit, I was able to do some amazing things. I went on radio tour with my record label. At that time, I had an amazing manager, Mark Maynard, and we were able to go tour different states, hit radio station to radio station. I would sing live, and it was just an unbelievable experience for me.
Did you enjoy that?
I loved it.
Well, I can see it being a grind, and we hear there's so many musicians who have written songs about the grind of promoting music or grind of being on the show or on the road, rather. But I'm guessing at 30-something years old now, you knew this was a gift, this was a calling, and this is rare stuff. And my suspicion is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, you appreciated it a little bit differently.
Oh, my God. I did. And I did because people actually didn't, at that point, look at my age. They didn't look at all the factors that so much of the industry looks at. It was not a matter of that. It was a matter of talent, and it was a matter of passion, and it was a matter of just getting out there and making it happen. And that's exactly what I did. And still having 3 children at home.
Yeah, that's a part of the story I don't want to overlook. You've got a business and a life at home.
That's right.
While all this is going on.
That's right. And back then, fortunately, I was a part of my family's contracting business. So it was easier for me to, hit the road when I needed to, but I was also a mom. And so I would not leave my children for long periods of time. So it was trying to figure out, how it all needed to make sense in my world at that time. I knew I couldn't give it up. I knew that it was something that I had been blessed with. And so many things had continued to happen, just meeting people along the way, being in LA recording, being in Nashville and recording, and just the process was incredible. But I still, like I said, I had a full-time job. I had a family. I was raising very small children. And then it got to a point in my life to where I had done so many amazing things. And of course, my family and my children were very much a part of that process. Mm-hmm. And, but I needed a break for a little while. I needed just to be mom, and I needed to raise my kids and just be there 100% of the time. I didn't want to miss one single minute of their life that I could. And so I took a break, I would say in the professional world for about 4 or 5 years. I never stopped singing, really.
Where would you sing in those 4 or 5 years when you were not on the road or doing the promotions?
Right. I did a lot of charity work. Yeah. So I would sing for a lot of different charity organizations. Charity has been a huge platform of mine from day one, working from, with Ronald McDonald House, the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, St. Mary's Home, just a lot of local things. Local things that were very important to me, because I know as even now, the bigger organizations that I've worked with, it was so important to me to really give back to that, all the people locally that had reached out, even to family members of mine that were sick at the time.
So you stepped off the road for 4 or 5 years to be a mom?
That's right.
Kept the pipes warm, essentially?
That's right.
And then what happened?
Let me backtrack to when I first started. I should have mentioned this in the beginning. When I started my very first album, I really didn't know kind of where I wanted to fit in the world. I knew I wanted to record a country album. Country was always, near and dear to my heart growing up. And but as I started the process of really picking out these songs, I get in the studio and I record an album. And then one of my producers, Steve, he looked at me and he said, has anyone ever told you that you sound like Karen Carpenter? And I thought about it for a minute. And I said, well, my parents, I remember as a child, my parents listening to the Carpenters. And I think I remember some of their music, And but I do remember one particular song was Merry Christmas, Darling, that the Carpenters did. And so that was very much a part of my childhood and just a very familiar song to me that I loved. And so that kind of just resonated with me. I kind of thought about that, but then it just kind of went away, that comment. So you fast forward to about 2.5 years ago, having realized that, okay, my kids are a little bit older. Now I have started my own research and development company. We work with medical devices, worldwide company, the most unbelievable thing business-wise that I've ever been a part of, just changing the world of medicine on a daily basis. But I still realized and knew that the dream that I had in me was still there. And I knew that I could not give up music 100%. So you fast forward, I decided to start releasing a couple of, singles just here and there. I did a Christmas song that 2 friends of mine had written. Then I started kind of getting into the bigger things. I wrote a song called Love to Gain, and I wrote it with my former producer, Steve Dorff. And it sat on the shelf for 10 years. And I never did anything with it. I knew it was there, and I have a lot of songs like that. There's something about the song I felt like the world needed at the time. Yeah. So about 2.5 years ago, I pulled that song back out, took the lyrics. I had written the lyrics. I sent it to him, and in about 5 seconds, he had the melody. And I had a dream to record with, I don't know how many people are familiar with the group that was based out of the University of Mobile, Truth, that was led by Roger Breland.
I remember Truth.
Right. Well, when Truth was very big when I was growing up, and I idolized him. I mean, I just was in awe of them, and I was like their little groupie. I went everywhere that Truth went. At a particular time that, because they kind of rolled off as years went on. And so the 4 guys at this particular year rolled off, and they became the group For Him. And that group was life-changing for me.
Let's pick that up when we come back from break. I want to hear what life-changing for you how you would describe that considering all that's happened. It's been a life-changing life thus far. For any one of these things would stand out to any one of us, but this is kind of par for the course for you. We'll come back after this break. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in the studio with Carla Williams. We're talking about the music business. We'll be right back.
Rainy days and Mondays always get me down.
I'm Paul Lewis, General Manager of Roy Lewis Construction. Many of our commercial buildings you drive by daily on both sides of the bay are the fruits of our client relationship since our beginning in the early 80s. It is our mission to bring value to our clients, from retrofits to ground-up construction and everything in between. We have more advocates than any of our competitors who have been in business twice as long. Same with repeat business, same with referrals. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com and let's talk about your next commercial project.
Hi, I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing in downtown Mobile. We make drinkable, flavorful craft beer perfect for life on the Gulf Coast. So pick up one of our six-packs before your next adventure or stop by our tap room for a relaxing afternoon with friends. Follow us on social media for the latest beer releases and events and ask for a Braided River at your favorite bars and restaurants. Thanks for your support. We look forward to sharing our beers with you.
This is Cam Marston, and I'm with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, if a homeowner thinks they have termites, do you offer inspections? What about someone buying a new home? Can you come in and take a look and see if there are termites in their new home?
Yeah, basically what we would do on a home above and beyond anyone else is we actually do a thorough inspection. But above that, we will use infrared imaging that will allow us to see problems in the wall and at times can tell us if there's anything going on.
That's fantastic, Cajun Mike. How can people find you?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
King Solomon wrote, "Without consultation, plans are frustrated, but with many counselors, they succeed." The law firm of Cromwell and Associates has the legal counsel that can help your business succeed with experience in LLCs, corporations, and tax. I'm Eric Cromwell. Our law firm has locations in Mobile and Fairhope. Call 251-605-9075 or search for Cromwell and Associates on Facebook. And let's discuss how we can help you.
And when my life is over, remember when we were together. We were alone and I was singing this song for you.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston in the studio with Carla Williams. We're talking about the music business. Carla has recorded a couple of different albums. I'm holding one of them in my hands. I don't know if they call them albums anymore, but it's a CD, tribute to the Carpenters, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Prior to the break, you were talking to me about Truth, a band that I remember as a child growing up here in Mobile, and they had a big office on Old Shell Road behind a big oak tree. I remember where that thing is. So pick it up from there. You had Roger Breland, you had Truth, and then you moved into it with a group of 4 soloists. Is that right?
Well, 4 of the guys that were a part of Truth split off because it was just their time to kind of roll off. They were leaving college and all of that. And so they became the group for him. Mm-hmm. And I went to so many of their concerts. I loved them. I told my parents growing up, I'm going to sing with one of those guys one day, if not all of them. I'm determined to do it. One thing led to another, and this is just kind of how this all unfolded for me. It felt like from day one in my music career, things just happened. And all those pieces kept getting put together at times I never thought possible. I was in the Pensacola airport going to Nashville. I run slap into Kirk Sullivan. We had met in the past and said, hey, would you be interested in listening to a song that I wrote all these years ago, and let's do a duet on it. A couple of months later, we're in the studio. He introduced me to my very next producer, Tom Hemby, and he produced that song. And so that was released. And so I did a lot of great things, releases. And then it came to the point to where Tom Hemby introduced me to legendary Michael Omartian. And Michael is, we all call him Omar. So if you hear me say that, that's who I'm speaking of.
I did hear you say that when we were on the phone a couple of days ago. Omar. Yeah.
Omar is unbelievable songwriter, producer, composer. And crazy enough, I did a couple of TV shows in Nashville, and I was on the news and Today in Nashville, and we did a couple of the songs that I was releasing at the time. And Omar came in, and here I am just in awe of this man. He comes in and he's playing keys behind me. And I'm thinking, my gosh, I'm so honored to have this guy playing for me. After that show, he came up to me and said, has anybody ever told you that you sound like Karen Carpenter?
Back to Karen Carpenter.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it kind of was just like full circle of where I started versus picking back up after a break for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm going to tell you something, Carla. You're crazy if you don't do this, if you don't do a tribute album to her. He says, the reason I say that, he says, I've worked with Karen. I worked with Richard. The former producer had worked with Karen and worked with Richard. They had recorded 2 of his songs. And he said, no one's ever done this. No one's ever done a tribute for her. There's a lot of tribute bands out there that sing a lot of the Carpenter songs, but it's not that they actually sound like them. So I thought about it, and I just knew that it was something at this age that I was like, my gosh, maybe this is like my mark to leave in the music industry. And so that's when this whole crazy process began. And I, so many times I looked at the project of, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Now I have a 4th child.
Yeah.
I'm running a research and development company. I have a family at home. How in the world is all this going to happen?
Yeah.
And but it was an opportunity that I could not pass up. And
so today, what's going on with it today?
Today, just finished the album and it was mastered. COVID gave us a little bit of a break, that we were not expecting. But it took about 1.5 years for the album to complete. We now have the records out. I say not out. We have them in our hand. We have vinyl on order that's coming from London.
Yes.
And because, with this being such a retro thing, we wanted that, to bring that vinyl back because it is making its, way back into the public eye. I mean,
amazing.
It's just, yes.
Amazing. Yeah, how it's come back and become valued again. I never thought we'd see an album after the CD came out, but they're coming back.
They are coming back, and what a perfect project for vinyl to do. So we went through and picked out songs for this album, and it was, the Carpenters had so many #1 hits, it was very hard to. We wanted to start with a 10 to 12 album. My producer would laugh and say, my God, if you don't stop, we're going to have to go into album number 2, which, we'll probably end up doing one day, but we ended up with 15 songs on the album.
So tell me how this works. I'm always been very curious about the music business. Your story is fantastic, but what I don't understand about the music business is, let's say you've recorded one of these Carpenter songs, Top of the World. Mm-hmm. Who do you have to ask to do that? Or do you have to do that? And if you were to go out on the street right now and play Top of the World and sing it, do you have to pay somebody for that? And if I were to give you $1 to sing it, do you have to give somebody 10 cents of that $1 to sing it?
How it works, it's a very complicated industry. And I say it's a very, very complicated industry to even understand. And I still am learning, along the way. When you choose a song that someone else has written, you have to be issued a mechanical license for that song.
A mechanical license.
A mechanical license. And normally, people like me, what we do is we go through the Harry Fox agency. And you go on there, which, so say Top of the World, you put in and it pulls up all the writers. And so everything is established on there for you. And what you just do, you go in and you have to apply for that mechanical license. You have to pay for that mechanical license. And so that once it gets approved, that song with my name attached to it goes into that database. So moving forward, when any of this music gets released and sold, a portion of that is, distributed, and rightfully so, to these writers of this music.
And is the portion that's distributed to them negotiable, or is it fixed?
That's a good question. I've never really gotten into that part of it. That's why you have managers that deal with this.
Well, I mean, that's another thing that I've written down is, what does a manager do?
Right. Well,
before we move from that, so is there a mechanical license for you to record it as well as perform it, or does that one mechanical license cover everything?
No. Well, short story with this particular album, when I first started, my biggest concern was, oh my gosh, with Richard Carpenter, unfortunately, Karen Carpenter died at 32 years old from a very tragic death of battling with anorexia. And but Richard Carpenter is still alive and well. And so my biggest fear with this album was, oh my gosh, what if Richard hears it and he says, what in the world is this girl doing? Who does she think she is? Recording my sister's music, And so it was a big it was a big thing that kept bugging me. And I contacted my team and I said, we've got to figure out a way to get in touch with Richard Carpenter. And they're like, what?
Yeah. Why?
And why? What are you doing? And it's not right. And it's not that I had
necessary.
to have permission. I did not have to have permission from Richard to record his music or any music that they had done, as long as I had those mechanical license. But it was more of just a thing that I needed a peace of mind that he was okay with this. I mean, Karen Carpenter was a legend, and she died a terrible death, and they were very close. And so, crazy enough, it worked out just right that Omar was able to reach Richard Carpenter. And he sent him several songs. For several weeks went by. We heard nothing. And I was like, oh, my word, what does this mean? And then crazy enough, one day, Omar calls me and he says, well, we got a response back from Richard. And I'm thinking, okay, and he said, you know what? He's all in. And he said that he, because he is not really in the music industry anymore, he's not going to participate in it, which we were not asking him to do that, but he just wanted, to kind of make that known. But he blessed the project and said, she sounds fantastic. Can't believe how much she actually does sound like my sister.
Yeah.
And that was just an unbelievable thing to me. So when you think about, did I have to get permission from Richard Carpenter to do this album? I did not. It was just something within me that I just wanted to do out of respect for him and Karen.
You wanted his blessing.
That's right. And so when we, as far as a manager is concerned, I went back and forth of what to do with that. When I was able to get involved in this project, and I was able to record in some amazing places. We recorded in London, and the guy that took me to London to get me into Abbey Road, the same studio that the Beatles recorded in, was Mark Hornsby. So Mark came on as my full-time manager. What he does on a daily basis, he is the key behind everything. Whatever I need done, he does.
So does he manage only you, or does he have a handful of people?
He works with a lot of different groups and bands.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm the only one that he's with full time, but he does a lot of different things because he is also a producer as well, and he is an audio engineer. So he's kind of like the whole package in one.
So a manager is essentially, I hesitate to use this term, but a concierge. I need this done. Can you get this done?
That's right.
Me?
And they take on, the work that an artist should not. I mean, they are dealing with interviews. They're dealing with bookings. They're dealing with agents. They're dealing with, promoters. They're dealing with everything behind the scenes that makes an artist what they are.
He's negotiating fees for you.
That's right.
And things of this nature.
That's
All right. Define for me the difference between a manager and a producer.
Sure. Well, kind of, I would say when you talk about a producer, Tom Hemby went in with me to the studio. He is the one that's, behind the soundboard. He is the one that's recording every move. He is the one that is orchestrating every instrument that's being played. He is the one that is possibly writing the charts. And a lot of times you can, farm that out to other people that write the charts for the bands that come into the studios. And, crazy enough, these musicians are unbelievable. I mean, a song they've never heard before. You hand them a music chart and they look at it in 3 seconds. They are playing the most beautiful music. And it's all so fascinating to me. But Tom would, as far as a producer is concerned, and all the ones that I've worked with, they are the ones that help you pick out the songs. They can, and it's funny because I'm my very first producer. I mean, they looked at me and said, look, you're going to be told you're terrible. You're going to be told that you're not good enough. You're going to be told this. You've got to have really tough skin in this industry. They're the ones that kind of mold you and make you into the artist that you are.
So as a producer, project-based, I'm going to work with you on this project, and this project is called, the album that I'm holding in my hand, The Tribute to the Carpenters, whereas a manager is career-based?
Yeah, you can actually say it like that for sure. And, a lot of times, producers stay with the same person all the way through. It was just, I've been lucky enough to work with several things, just mainly because of different types of music that I was doing. You've got some producers that are just country, or you have some producers that are just gospel. And so you kind of figure that out and kind of feel your way around. Manager is more career-based. Mm-hmm. It is someone that does take on those day-to-day projects that have to be done and dealt with, and it's really all behind the scenes. The producer takes care of everything in the front end. They're what gives you a product in hand and makes it brilliant.
So I hate to keep coming back to where the money flows,
Sure.
but there's a lot and ask this question and we'll go to break. A producer gets paid for the project.
That's correct.
A producer says, here's my fee for this.
That's correct.
And there's not going to be royalties off the album down the road for the producer.
9 times out of 10, that is correct. The producers get paid up front.
And the manager, are they fee-based or are they
It depends. It depends on
royalty-based?
just the particular contract that they have worked out with their particular artist.
I see.
Managers are normally paid off of a percentage of every show you play and things like that.
Yeah.
With shows not being performed right now, in my situation in particular, my manager gets paid a fee.
Yeah.
Every month because he does a lot of work.
Right.
We'll transition into a different setup once, I start touring and things like that. But yeah, as far as the difference in pay and how all of that, the money gets handled is producers get paid up front to make the project what it is.
You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. In the studio, Carla Williams is a country music singer living here in Mobile, very experienced in the Nashville world. I'm holding a CD, fairly new, Carla Williams, a tribute to the Carpenters. When we come back from break, I do have a couple more questions about how the business works, but I want to talk to you about what the spark was inside that says, I took the mommy track for 4 or 5 years, but I can't let this dream go because I know there are people out there listening going, you know what? I wish I had the guts to do that as well. And that's the story where I want to get when we come back from break. You're listening to What's Working.
Dreaming, I must be dreaming. Or am I really lying here with you?
At Roy Lewis Construction, we're in the business of adding value. Whether it's working with you to meet your unique business needs or making investments in our community in lasting ways, providing unparalleled value and quality in every commercial construction project. When planning your next commercial project, reach out to Roy Lewis Construction. We'll pair you with the designer that best suits your project needs and work with that designer to balance the best architectural outcome with the best budget outcome. Find us online at roylewisconstruction.com, building legacies one relationship at a time.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
I'm David Nelson, brewmaster and owner of Braided River Brewing. We want beer that goes along no matter where the adventure takes us and that doesn't make us choose between great beer and drinkability. We're drawn to the Delta and united by beer because to us, the best way to celebrate the Delta is to slow down and savor the moments and the beer together. Come visit our tap room in downtown Mobile and ask for us at your favorite bar or restaurant. Visit online at braidedriverbrewing.com.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
Oh, why should it be that we go on hurting each other? We go on hurting.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. Carla Williams is with me in the studio. Folks, if you are curious, like I was, of what she sounds like, go to Spotify, enter Carla Williams, and you can follow her and you can hear this amazing voice. We're lucky to have her in our midst. When you were recording your albums, you told me this in our phone call to kind of prepare for this interview. There were a lot of people that you told me heard your dream and gave you their talents to contribute to this tribute to the Carpenters album. Tell me a little bit about those people, and then I want to hear about how you've kept your dream alive.
Absolutely. When we first started this this project and picking out all of these songs, like I said, they had so many amazing hits, and it was very hard to kind of filter through what we wanted to do. We chose these songs based off of so many different things. When you go back and you listen to my very first album back in 2010, and even the songs that I've chosen to release as singles thus far, I have always said, and every interview that I've ever been in, every newspaper article, everything that you've ever read, it's, in order for me to feel this music and really portray it to my audience the way I want to, in order for me to sing it, I have to have lived it. And that's just been a motto that I've said. I feel like every song that I've ever sang has just been something that I've gone through at some point in my life. So these songs are very, very special to me. As we were looking at these songs, we wanted to figure out how to boost this project. What's going to take this project to the next level? Some people started reaching out to some very famous people, I should say, that I've honored that are now a part of this project. And it was more of, hey, we want you to hear this girl sing. We want you to know a little bit about her. This is her dream, and want you to see what you think of it. So these people listened. They loved it. They loved the Carpenters. They loved my passion behind it. They wanted to be involved 100%.
Name drop for me.
I'm going to name drop. I have 2 former lead singers of Chicago on the album, Steve Lukather of Toto, the famous legendary guitar player. And then a lot of people, and I was not familiar with this particular name when it was brought up to me, but I am now. And it is Sir Cliff Richard. He was the most successful British solo pop artist of all time.
Yeah.
He is their Elvis.
300 million albums sold?
That's correct.
That guy's legit.
He is legit, and he turned 80 last year. And as I laughed and spoke with you on the phone, he looks like he's 20, and he sounds like he's 20 still. He's just an amazing human being. I was able to meet him in person and record with him in Miami at Criteria Studios. And his love for just music in itself was the most humbling experience of my life. But somebody that famous and that successful that took, a couple of days out of their time living in Barbados and flies to Miami, Florida to do this project with me was just surreal.
So your dream has captured the energy and the generosity of a lot of people.
That's right.
And they're all documented on this album. There are a lot of people. Now, here's my story, a little bit of it. I'm not going to give it because it's not where we want to go. But when I turned 50, I decided to start doing more things that I wanted to do versus what I felt I should be doing.
Right.
And I know that I have a lot of colleagues out there who are in their mid-40s to mid-50s who are wondering, what are my final 15 years of work going to look like? And some are chasing a dream. Some have said, I just simply can't do that. I'm trapped in what I'm doing right now because I'm addicted to this income, and any threat to the income would scare me. You, however, have done it differently. You've kept the dream alive, and you've been able to chase it. Tell me about that.
That's right. And I knew that in my heart, even when I'm not going to say gave it up, because, like I said, my greatest job in the world is being a mom. But when I did take that break, I knew some way, somehow I had to figure out how to get back into it. And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, well, by then you're going to be this age and you're going to be too old and no one's going to take you serious. And but the relationships that I had developed along the way kept that dream alive for me. So when I reached back out to people that I had worked with in the industry in the past and said, you know what, all right, I'm ready to get back in with both feet. And to me, it was more of, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I cannot wake up another morning or go to bed at night with any regret. Mm-hmm. And even running a company and being running the operations of a big research and development company, I've had to figure out what that balance was going to look like for me. Because I had to give 150% to everything that I was doing. I couldn't slack in any areas. I couldn't slack being a mom. I couldn't slack in the music world, so that people would still take me serious at this age. And then, as I call it, my real job in life, I definitely couldn't slack there. So to me, it was more about living with no regret. And
so you were already busy.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You got 4 children now.
Right.
You were busy, and then you said, I'm going to relaunch my music career. And suddenly the old busy looked like you had free time. So you've now got a busy schedule.
That's right.
And you welcomed it because of the fear of regret?
Because of the fear of regret. Absolutely. And I feel like I still had more to give. And I still felt like that I still had a talent out there. I'd been told a couple of times that you should do a project like this. And I knew that with the people behind it and the people that were encouraging it, being such legendary human beings in the music industry, how in the world could I not go for it?
I think there's a compelling comment there. There's a compelling part of it. When you see people who have this talent and this success in their background, and they're looking at you saying, you need to do this,
right.
It's hard to say no.
It is hard to say no. And I'm not a good person to say no to pretty much anything anyway, but this was something that I knew I had to do.
So you're in Miami recording, you're in Nashville recording, you're in London recording at the famed Abbey Road Studios. Did you ever bump into you? Was there ever anyone else out there who was chasing a dream like you were? There
was. And I have been able to share my story with quite a few people just even in the last couple of months. And a lot of people that were trying to get really creative in this world that closed down, and so many people lost their jobs, and so many people in this music industry were suffering, and honestly still are suffering. But the people that I've run to, and I always say that it is absolute divine intervention of people that we run into on a daily basis. But for instance, one story in particular was just a couple of weeks ago when my second child, and my oldest child's a sophomore at Alabama. I have a senior at McGill now, and she's trying to figure out what in the world do I want to do? Where do I want to go? She settled on Lipscomb University in Nashville. She is an aspiring singer-songwriter. And when we were on tour that day, we happened to luck up in the music department as we were meeting with the head of the music department. And Hannah and I were sitting in there along with another mom and daughter. And the daughter was speaking of her aspirations and what she wanted to do. And Hannah talked about hers and what she wanted to do. And the head of the music department already knew who I was. And he had looked me up, and he saw that I had been in the industry for quite a long time. And he was talking to me, kind of encouraging my own daughter, which I do all the time, and all my kids, and the other of just, always follow that. And then this mother's sitting over there, and she was just real quiet. And she just kind of sniffled a lot. Of course, we all have masks on, so nobody really see what's going on. And I could tell that something was just really eating at her. And it was just the five of us sitting in a room. And all of a sudden, she just breaks down in tears and says, you know what? I used to be a singer, and I used to be a songwriter. And she said, but I had to raise 6 children on my own. And she said, this is the last of my 6. And she said, my other 5 are now lawyers and CPAs and doctors. And now she wants to be a singer. And she says, I've done it. And she says, and I don't realize, how much you miss something until you see it in front of your face again. And that was an opportunity that I had to look at a mom. I was a mom of 4, she's a mom of 6, to say, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I highly encourage you. And I said, as a matter of fact, I'll be the first one next to sit down and write the next song with you.
So divine intervention has worked for you.
Oh my goodness,
It just also worked through you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Raising 6 children on her own. I mean, she's a hero. She is. But she had a dream, and she gave that dream up to do all the necessary things in life that she needed to do because she couldn't figure out the balance. And I think that that's the most important thing for me that I've learned in this whole process of how to balance.
All right, let me ask you this. You are the COO of a research and development company in the medical field based here in Mobile, doing some remarkable things. You're the mom of 4. You're a recording artist. What's your calling?
Crazy enough, having never been in the medical field whatsoever, I just was always in operations and running large companies. It's amazing to me how medicine and music go hand in hand on a daily basis. And I never realized that until I got involved in both at the same time. Because as I say all the time, medicine heals the body, but music heals the soul. Mm-hmm. And it is so true. It is so very true. I think the biggest calling of my life is to reach the next person, whoever that is, whether it is to change the world of medicine and these wonderful projects that we're involved in, or to reach them on a musical level, because music is healing. It is healing in all sorts of ways.
What I hear you not saying, but the words are soon to come, to serve.
Absolutely.
And one's through music and one's through medical.
That's exactly right.
What's next?
What's next for me is we're going to get this album released this summer. We were trying to very strategically plan the release of this album because of waiting to see what this COVID world was going to do. So many tours had been canceled. I was supposed to be on tour with Cliff Richard last fall.
In Europe?
In Europe. That was going to be, yes. He had. We just hit it off so well. We just we just had the same, just the same mindset with everything. And he invited me to tour with him. So that has been pushed to this fall. We hope, that takes place. Once this album gets released, I'm doing my very first video for this particular project in April. And we'll start setting up the U.S. and the European tours.
Will you be the headliner of the tours, and you're going to go, what is a typical tour? 30 cities, 50 cities?
That's a good question. With this particular tour, we're not going to hit huge arenas. This is such an intimate project.
Yeah.
It is such a very intimate style of music. We want to reach those areas that are, kind of like our very own Sanger Theater.
Yeah, I love
areas
the Sanger.
like that, and small music venues and music halls and things like that. So those are the areas that we'll reach out to.
The Carpenters were famous back in the day. They're still widely recognized, as you know. What about their music is relevant today?
It's amazing to me how much kids, even like my own kids, I have kids aging from 20 to 10, and how that era of music is coming back, even from, my daughter's watching, Bohemian Rhapsody and loving Queen now, or watching, and watching the yesterday and loving the Beatles, or watching, Elton John's movie and loving him. And so it's amazing to me how all of this is coming back. My 10-year-old now knows every word to all of these Carpenter songs, and she loves it. And so I feel like they had such good music that just kind of got swept away. And so many of the songs that they do, everybody knows it, but they just never realized the Carpenters sang it. So bringing their life and their legacy back is very important to me.
Carla Williams is a recording artist here in Mobile. She's got a big footprint in Nashville. You can find more about her by finding her on Spotify. You can also find her on social media. And folks, get a front row seat as you watch this woman blossom again and again and again. Carla, thank you so much for coming to the studio today. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We'll be back after this break for final comments.
Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby.
What's Working with Cam Marston is brought to you by Stella Artois Beer. Stella Artois is a perfect beer for celebration. Nothing caps off a big sale, hitting your incentive goals, or a profitable quarter like a round of Stella's. Brewed first in 1708 as a special Christmas brew, today Stella is a gift for everyone to enjoy year-round. Stella Artois. Find it wherever fine beer is sold.
This is Cam Marston with Cajun Mike of E3 Termite and Pest Control. Cajun Mike, houses on pilings can have termites eat their way up inside the piling and enter the house. The homeowner never knows about it, but your company offers protection. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Cam. Basically, what we have designed is a program, and what we do is we will actually drill to the center of the piling and put a product in the center that will stop the termites from coming up into the home.
Stucco exteriors as well?
Correct.
How can people find you, Cajun Mike?
They can find me at e3pest.com.
That's the letter E, the number 3, pest.com.
At Spring Hill Toyota, it's just that easy. From our 3-day exchange to free car washes, the benefits of the Spring Hill Advantage make the choice easy to see. We make it easy to own. Every vehicle comes with Toyota Care, plus our no-cost maintenance plan with free tire rotations and oil changes for 4 years. Get peace of mind with free roadside assistance 24/7. And don't forget, it's easy to buy your car 100% online. Visit SpringHillToyota.com today. It's just that easy.
Hey, this is Cam. Thanks for listening, and I hope you're really enjoying the podcast. Do me a favor and search for Cam Marston on your social media outlets and like us or follow us or whatever is the right thing to do. Also, if you know others who'd benefit from the podcast, please forward it on to them and encourage them to listen. If you're so inclined, we'd love your rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Those ratings matter. Finally, don't be a stranger. Email me with your comments, your feedback, your thoughts, your show ideas, whatever. Cam, C-A-M, at cammarston.com. I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you very much for listening. Now, back to the show. Man, you just gotta love stories like that. At least I do. And it's wonderful that we're hearing this music, and we can't help but wish Carla the best, man. She was so generous to come in and spend some time. Tell me about her path and what the obstacles may be. She will have a fan in me and hopefully a fan in you one of these days when this tribute album gets released to the public. Maybe it's something that I can announce on the show. You'll support her as best as you can, and you'll find her wandering around our fine little town right here, which is always really good. Always really nice to have a celebrity make their home here in Mobile. Very proud of them. I want to thank John Thompson. He's the producer. He's the guy that has removed the thunder and lightning and heavy rain from this tail end of the podcast. That's what's going on as I record this. John, you're the man. One of these days, you'll get out there on your boat again. You're listening to What's Working, folks. Be back next week. Have a good week.